Okay, starting with the Easttop Forerunner. It comes in a really nice zip case, and here's the instrument. It's a fairly conventional looking chromatic from the outside. It's got a metal mouthpiece with a slider, and this is one of the things they've upgraded. It's super quiet, this slider, really quiet. The comb is also upgraded from the earlier model. It's now a clear plastic comb, and the cover plate supports have got sort of silicone on the top, so they're very they give fantastic support and very easy to install. And you know, there was a little bit of noise with the previous model, but now it's totally quiet to hold. And the cover plates have been upgraded as well. Now, what makes this harmonica special is it's valveless. It's got no valves, absolutely no valves on the blow reeds or the draw reeds. And the valveless chromatic goes back a long, long way. In fact, the very first chromatic harmonicas were valveless. The chromatic harmonica is intrinsically less airtight than a diatonic because it's got, the mouthpiece with the slider. And so, there's a potential for air loss there. So in order to make the harmonica more airtight, valves were added fairly early on. And the majority, probably 95% of chromatics do have valves. But in over the 100-year history of the chromatic harmonica, the valveless chromatic has never gone away. It's always been around, but it's generally the low budget, cheapest chromatic you can buy. I mean, besides not having valves, also the construction has been a little bit, of most models, not the highest specification. But because they're so cheap, it's often the first chromatic harmonica that a player will buy. But now Easttop is changing that perception of the valveless chromatic with their new Forerunner model. This is a really quality made chromatic harmonica. It doesn't have valves, so it doesn't perform in exactly the same way as a fully valved chromatic, but in every other respect it's a high quality chromatic, from the super quiet mouthpiece, very airtight, to the really fine quality construction inside. And to show their commitment to this model, Easttop is now producing it in all 12 keys. I think what they're aiming at is the diatonic player who wants to switch to try a chromatic harmonica, but doesn't like the fuss of valves, the potential problems that come with valves, which everyone knows about, sticking valves, rattling valves, whatever. You just don't have any of that with the Forerunner because without valves there's no problems. So you can treat it like a diatonic. Play it, put it in the box, forget about it, pick it up, and it'll work. So I think they're aiming at the diatonic market, and of course diatonic players are used to having harmonicas in all 12 keys. Plus, the affordability of this chromatic means that you can have a whole bunch of them in different keys without breaking the bank. Okay, enough talk. How does it actually sound? Well, the one I have here is in the key of E, which is quite a low key. It's 3 octaves in solo tuning, so it starts in the low E. And that's the first octave, and then the next octave, and the top octave. Okay, now you can probably, if you're a chromatic player, you can probably hear straight away that it's got a different sound to most chromatics because it doesn't have the valves. So it's got a slightly more airy feel. It's a bit quieter than most chromatics because when you play a blow note, a little bit of your air is leaking out through the draw reed slot. When you draw a draw note, a little bit of your air is coming in through the blow reed slot. So the sound isn't as pure as on a fully valved chromatic. But it compensates for it in other ways. For one thing, diatonic players will love the fact that you can bend a lot of the draw notes. For instance, any draw note that's a tone above the blow note on the solo tuning, that's on every odd numbered hole, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, you can bend the draw note with the slide in or out. So if I take number 5, this is an E note, an F sharp, which is 2 semitones apart, so I can get the F in between. So instead of playing the note, I can bend it. Okay, so diatonic players will love that kind of thing. And here's another, here's a B and a C sharp. So you can get that kind of third position, kind of bluesy sort of sound with bending as well, and those bends will happen on the with the slider in as well. So congratulations to Easttop for looking at the valveless chromatic one more time and really upgrading it to a very high spec. And as I say, it comes in all 12 keys, very affordable. So for people who are looking for a low maintenance or zero maintenance chromatic harmonica that they can play in any key, the Forerunner is definitely your option.